Om Sri Guru Namaha. Thank you, esteemed panelist, for having accepted this invitation. Thank you, Brahmangaru. Thank you, Brainfeed team, for this beautiful session and for this beautiful panel all the more. And such a lovely audience here. It's always a pleasure talking in front of a Hyderabad audience. Right? You guys give us a very patient hearing, and you do also tell us how to improve our own selves. Thank you very much for being here all. So, Seetha ma'am's, we are just contemplating what topic we should have. So, ma'am had a very nice topic which says merits and challenges of sustainability, diversity, and inclusion in schools. So, we have accepted the topic heartily and immediately. Such a wonderful and a very rightful topic for today's time. Now, Sustainable Development Goals were born in the UN conference, we all know, right? And it was born in the climate change conference of COP, in the Rio event in 2012. So the objective was to produce a set of universal goals, right? And to address the urgent challenges of the world, political, economic, and environmental, right? SDG basically repeals the Millennium Development Goals of the year 2000, right? So two things that why SDG is important. One is it's good for the planet, right? It talks about sustainability, it talks about sanitation, it talks about pollution, it talks about climate change. And it is also good for humanity because it deals with poverty, inequality, economic growth, peace, and justice. Now, before we delve into some nice questions on this topic, certain facts about this country of ours, right? So, as per the UN Development Program Index, our country is at the 131st position out of the 189 countries participate, right? The Human Development Index, right? We are at 131 out of 189 countries. So, we are far behind. Even our neighbors like the Sri Lanka and Bhutan, they hold the 73rd and the 127th position, right? Now, where does the HDI measure? It measures life expectancy, it measures educational system in terms of mean years of a child in school, and it measures the gross national income. There are a lot of other indexes where we are lagging behind, like the Global Index for Innovation, 42nd, the World Happiness Report, 126, and the Global Hunger Index, which is 107, and World Happiness Report Index, which is 136. But the world is not gloomy always. There's a brighter side to it. We are number 1 in Global Digital Skill Development Index. We are number 4 in the Education Impact Index. We are number 3rd in the US Aim Building Index. Why I am bringing this in the SDG is India has multiple challenges to adapt to, right? Huge population, huge pressure on the resources, increasing demand of urbanization, imbalance between the skilled and the unskilled workforce, gender inequality, and a centralization of resources in the hands of the few. Now, if you were to demystify the Sustainable Development Goals, it runs into 17 different topics, which covers all these topics one by one, right? So going ahead, education is a best way to inculcate good habits of sustainable development in young minds, right? We all know to do anything good in the country, to start from the school level so that the children learn it at an early age and they are able to implement it lifelong, right? So that's the importance of instilling the thought of sustainable development in schools. That's why this panel is here to talk about the, ways and means of doing that, okay? So my first question to our leading panelist, we'll go one by one. India is 1/6 of the population of humanity, right? And we have an agenda of being the number 1 country in terms of economic growth by 2047. Murty ji ka, that's the vision of Modi, which we all like to follow on. So, going ahead with that vision, right? And when we talk about implementing this vision in the school curriculum, right? How do you say that we can infuse sustainable development goals in the curriculum in such a way that the child adopts it in his daily life as a practice, right? So, shall we start with Seetha ma'am?
Good afternoon, everyone. Just because I'm given the topic doesn't mean you put me in a spot right at the beginning.
Well,
But then I'll take it.
I'll answer this question. It's very important. One of the main factor of sustainable development goal is gender equality. So somewhere I see an imbalance in the ratio. That's why I started with you.
Thank you for thinking about it. But yeah, coming back to sustainability, when I was suggesting sustainability, what I meant was, how do we develop sustainability in our thinking and in our actions? More than SDG goals, the 17 goals which are applicable to the entire 8 billion population, I'm looking at what are the sustainable things that I will do, including this. Okay? What are the sustainable things that I'll do with the lanyards that every person is wearing here? Okay? All these will go into the trash bin. So how do we make the students, ourselves first, not the students, first ourselves, believe in sustainability, recycling, reusing, and things like that. So I'll give you a suggestion. I'll share the idea of what we are doing in our school for the last 18 years. We looked at the stationery that is being used by the children. Pencils, pens, eraser, sharpener, A4 sheets, color sheets, staplers, everything we listed down. After listing these, we looked at how much does the parent spend in a year. So approximately 1,500 to 2,000 per child per academic year is what a parent spends. So we came up with this idea, but we'll have a stationery policy. We'll not let children waste anything. We'll also have to inculcate a responsible consumption of these materials. So we came up with this policy. We calculated, and per year, in all these 18 years, the parents have been paying 375 to 400 per year for the entire stationery to be used in the school. Children are not to bring any stationery. Okay? And 5 years later, we added a pen kit also. So everybody has similar branded pens. A4 sheets are used as common property in the school. Pencils and pens and everything is used because it's not just about conserving these things. It's also about developing a responsibility for materials that are publicly used by everybody. You sit in a theater, you start wearing the chair, the seat. You sit in a city bus, you do that. You sit in a public park, you don't mind littering. All these things come from an education where you're developing sustainability, that if I spend the remote at home, my father has to spend another 1,500 to buy the remote, TV remote. So everything is about transferring conservation, responsible consumption, and then also money. We had at that time when we started, we had about 2,000 students. Now we have in one campus 3,300. So if you really count, 50 lakhs of stationery vis-a-vis 10 lakhs of stationery per year. That's how we started addressing our concerns about sustainability. Long back when I did a course with Harvard University in Project Zero, I learned these words: intention specificity, intention implementation, and that's where the gap comes. First, talking sustainability is a very broad word, but bringing it into implementation and having the specificity of where am I working on in sustainability is very important. So that's the reason I suggested the topic.
Lovely. So a very nice takeaway. You have to have an intention first. You have to work on that intention, and you have to carry that intention to the young minds, right? So she was doing good practices in our school. Very, very nicely put, So thank you, ma'am, for that. I take the next question to Raju, sir. Ma'am spoke about how to actively engage the students towards sustainable development. I also spoke about the moral value system of you sit in a private property or in a government property, you're not supposed to be damaging it. So these are a value system that has to be instilled, right, along with the teachings, right? Somewhere, don't you think infusing such things into the curriculum would also give a better and a very, proper chapter program for every school to follow, so that the country can overall benefit from at a larger space? What's your thought onto it?
I agree with ma'am 100%, sir. So just to give you a background, when I was growing up, we didn't have, as ma'am said, no plastic bottles, no paper cups. Everything at home was reused, right? If we were in that situation today, we would have been an environmentalist delight, and we would have been the model for the whole world. But unfortunately, with convenience, with ease, with Western principles coming, we are starting to waste a lot of things, unnecessary things, where simple things like carrying no plastic in school, things like that, programs and things like that are very relevant. It's also important that we're all talking about artificial intelligence. Today, the data centers roughly take up 1.5% of the total energy in the world. And that is probably going to increase to 5%, 10%, I don't know, but it will increase very significantly. So there is a need that there's a requirement for us to conserve resources. So that mindset, as you said, has to start from schools. So in schools, programs like ma'am has said, things like that can be encouraged. Composting, wherever possible, solar panels, whoever can afford. Initial costs are high, but over a period of time, you recover very quickly solar panels. But, the children learn by seeing more than what is being told to them. That has been my experience as a parent itself, or as an educator itself. So teacher training has to be, solid. That they need to understand, they need to empathize first. Massive program has to go on, and then they in turn can educate the children on sustainability and the best practices. So in the curriculum, I think many of our schools have been doing a lot of project-based learning as well, and with the advent of this kind of change that is happening, project-based learning, inquiry-based learning have become very important. So the topics that you choose as projects can be more around sustainability and improvement of livelihood for everybody. So these sort of things, if we are able to do, then I'm sure that, while it is slow, but I'm very confident that, we can bring about a massive change in the complete system. This is at the school level. So the boards also need to take up these things. So be it Cambridge or be it CBSE, ICSE as well. So some of these practices will really help in including in the curriculum and bring about big change.
Lovely. So you feel that a project-based system is a nice way to introduce hands-on, implementation for schools and for the kids to, learn from. They're very nicely said, sir. I take the next question to Sreekanth, sir. My question to you is, collaboration with the local communities, businesses, government organization is a big way to promote, right? How are schools and colleges supposed to be doing that?
Yeah. So they can always take their children as we speak. In fact, just this morning, I'm based out of Guntur. So there's a medical waste management industry, which my grade 6 and 7 students, probably they are still visiting, they must be there. So when you talk about the local community and the local industries, so once they visit such places, probably they understand. So when we directly talk about UN SDGs to the children, they don't really understand or give weightage. So, but yes, first we have to, of course, when even before putting it into the curriculum, probably as just Mr. Praveen told, that they have to see. So if you can just put some billboards and notices and all. In fact, a couple of months back, myself, even Praveen Rajgar, we visited Singapore, almost 7-8 international schools as part of FICCI delegation. And one most important aspect that we have noticed in every school is their importance and their talk about the sustainability. If you talk about particularly UWC and couple of other schools, Dulwich and all, they are only talking about sustainability. And we don't see the regular white lights. I mean, they have seen as much ventilation as possible, whether it is solar or the natural lighting. These things, of course, they come at a cost. But in places like India, even in rural places, one thing is having our children get their classes or projects or something where they are included in the nature. I mean, once they see into the nature, they also get to understand. I mean, because in cities, they will be under more pollution. So once they go out, they understand, I mean, if it is a city child. And then, of course, the recycling and the waste management, whether it is food waste or e-waste or just like Seetha ma'am told about their reusing of stationery. But of course, Seetha ma'am, if there are any stalls outside selling stationery, they would be very unhappy with them because you're also spoiling their economy. So, but yeah, economy is also important to the country. We should, basically, it is all about the management of the waste and reusing the things. And yes, that's very important wherever it's possible. If we can involve the children, go and speak to the local business people and local communities and also address these issues, there will be a change.
Lovely, very nicely said. So I take my next question to Madhusudhan sir. Madhusudhan sir is the General Secretary of the Telangana State Recognized School Management Association. My question to you, sir, would be the word inclusion, right? What does it really mean, right? We as a country have always been following an inclusive policy for ages now. But under the Sustainable Development Goals, how do you define inclusion and what should schools do to elaborate this definition of inclusion?
It's a very excellent question. I have some throat problem, but I try to speak less, but I would like to answer this in a very short way. Inclusion of sustainable goals or the sustainable climate change goals, we can say. So all these 17 goals which are divided as SDG, we can include them all in 4 verticals. First of all, we should practice them in our school campus. That is, making the school campus a sustainable campus. Secondly, building the capacities. That is, our staff, teachers, sub-staff, everyone should be properly trained and their capacities must be built how to practice this sustainable goals. Third one, curriculum. We have to integrate this SDG or the climate change goals into our curriculum. And the fourth is outreach, community reach. We have to do activities to reach the community. I will explain with one example to each one. Greening the school. We have a school campus. We have to inculcate values to the students, how to optimize the resources in the school, usage of water, making the school well ventilated, using less AC or fans, etc. If it is possible, we can use the renewable energy, solar. We can recycle the water. We can adapt the vermicompost, whatever degradable waste we develop in the school during the lunchtime, etc. We should inculcate the habit of preparing the vermicompost and recycling the water, STP, sewage treatment plant. So like that, if you go on telling, Madam also has given very nice example how to recycle, reuse and reduce, recycle and reuse of the plastic kind of things. This is in the school campus so that every child will be able to inculcate these habits. Secondly, greening the capacities, that is sustainable capacity. We have to, until we educate our teachers what kind of practices can be done like this, then they will not be able to build a holistic education to the child, because the sustainable schools are part of the education. They are not separate. They must be always integrated so that we will be able to build a responsible citizen. And then curriculum. In every project, as Sreekanth ji and told, we have to compulsorily include these practices, sustainable climate change practices, should be brought into the curriculum so that they will be given some weightage to these projects, project-based learning. And finally, the outreach program also. We have to sometime go and plant the trees. For example, every child on their birthday of their parents and family members saw a plant, see that it will grow up. Suppose every year, if you at least minimum one plant, if you grow into a tree, you are giving back to the society. We are taking so much thing from the nature, so much oxygen, so much water, etc. It is also a responsibility to give them back. So that kind of responsible citizens are to be brought in. So in the outreach program, we can do these all kinds of practices which will percolate into the society.
Super, sir. Further simple ways of implementing SDGs, sir just said. One, sir said, was to start implementing it at the school level, at our institution level. As a management, you can introduce these practices, vermicompost, solar energy, renewable water. So these things you can start introducing in your school campuses. One. Two, capacity building of the teachers. Train the teachers as to what are the best practices. How can they go back home and do it at home, and how can they come into the classroom and teach the classroom students also. Third, he said is outreach program, right? So you go back to the society and tell what you can do as a school or an institution and how can you help the society in implementing the programs, right? Fourth one, what you say, sir? Curriculum, right? So introduce it in the classroom curricula itself so that it sits in the back of the child's mind. Very, very beautifully said, sir. I take the next question in terms of parents, right? They are a very important part of our, stakeholder community, right? This question goes to Raju sir and to Seetha ma'am both, right? So, where do you see your role of a parent in encouraging a child towards these good practices?
It's interesting when you ask, where do you see the role of parents? Because the current challenges all private schools have in terms of the role of parents, largely it comes into achievement of the children than children's character, children's value system, children's sustainable behaviors. Okay? So it's very important for a school to orient the parents towards the goal of the vision or the mission that the school works in. We have many IIMs and IITs in our country. We don't have Indian Institute of Parenting at all. Okay? So because of which, even the younger parents try to either repeat what their parents have done to them, or they become Google parents. And the Google parenting comes from a Western concept in an Indian scenario, Indian situation. So it's quite a dichotomy for the parents right now, especially in the city that we are in right now. They are also pretty lost. They don't know what they have to focus on because of multiple things from, on one side, technology is tearing them apart. And on the other side, the competitiveness that is increasing in the society is tearing them apart. And at the same time, there's no parent who doesn't want values for their children. Okay? But from a school, largely they expect the grades and the scores. I think schools have to play a large role in orienting the parents, helping them reorient themselves as to what is my role as a parent, how do I work with my child, there's one thing I'll give you as an example. In our school, we always say character first, competence next. Right at the admission interview, I tell everybody, I'm okay if your child doesn't do well in math, but I'm not okay if the child is dishonest about it. Okay? So every child, even the pre-primary child, will say character first, competence next. I ask the parents, you tell me, what did you clarify at home? If I ask your child, what is the major value that you have established at home? Many of them feel a little lost about it. They don't exactly clarify. I think the role of parents is first establishing what are the norms in our home. Okay? respecting things, respecting people and things like that. So the role of parents is more larger than the schools. Schools are only supporting systems, but unfortunately, schools have to assume the parenting roles for parents.
Lovely.
That's where I feel it's a challenge, but I think personally I love taking it up, and I do.
Lovely. And Raju sir, what's your take on it, sir?
Yeah, ma'am, now I think parents are also moving from Google parenting to ChatGPT parenting. But as you rightly said, ma'am, I think the fundamental thing that cuts across is value, right? If you're not respecting first yourself, your peers, and the larger environment around you, so that once you inculcate values, their reception towards anything what you say regarding sustainability will get in better.
Getting better, correct.
So that's very important first. So parents, one way, I mean, it's important, as ma'am said, there's no doubt that we need to make sure that, parents also are part of the system, whether we like it, whether we are able to do it, but that's a requirement.
Correct.
So some of the ways what we have been doing in our schools is that we involve parents in many things. Ask them to do a project around, and then ask them to find out how many times we felt in their grandfather or grandmother or each of the parents or siblings have abused the environment, let's say, or done something which is not sustainable. Why don't you record 1, 2, 3? So sometimes what happens is when a child is asking a parent that you're not supposed to do this, you're wasting water, you're using plastic,
Correct,
let's not
correct.
do this. Somewhere that angle we take, I am hopeful that that change will come.
So educating the parent through the children. That's a very beautiful way, and it's a nice, beautiful concept actually. So just think about it. Anything that your son or your daughter comes and tells you, Papa, you should do it this way. This is how the world is going. We keep it in our hearts. We may not keep it in our minds, but we keep it in the heart. Anything that is in the heart is never forgotten. So that's a beautiful way of taking it, Raju sir. Thank you. Thank you very much for this beautiful statement. My next question is to both Sreekanth sir and to Madhusudhan sir. Government is doing a lot, right? Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, Sakshat Shiksha Abhiyan, Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan, Satak Bharat Abhiyan, Beti Bachao Beti Padhao Abhiyan. But if you ask people in general, the Beti Bachao Beti Padhao is on the top of the mind. The rest 5, 6, 10 programs, you don't even recollect. What should we do about it?
It is said the future of a nation is molded in a classroom. So classroom is the most resourceful part of a country. So though the government brings up many such programs, until it is practiced at the grassroots level in the education system, it will not have proper impact. So every program that is being announced by the government should see that it will be properly integrated in the school's education system, so that the future generation will become a responsible generation, and then a sustainable change can happen. Until it is allocated to the schools with proper funding, with a proper supportive mechanism, it's not going to be succeeded.
Okay, Sreekanth sir, I will ask the reverse of the same question to you. Madhusudhan have said that the government has to ensure that it reaches the school in the right form so that you're able to integrate it. My question to you is the school, should it not be the reverse versa, vice versa? Should the school not, put one step forward, reach out to the government and say, if in the program, let me be the role model and implement it in my school?
Definitely. School should take it voluntarily, but sometimes when government forces, so as a human we tend to resist. So these three people here are from Hyderabad. Of course, most of the audience is from AP and Tamil Nadu. I know because they have the awards next. And AP, since I belong to AP, they don't know the inclusion of RT because they didn't face that hurdle. Right. AP and Tamil Nadu people we know. I mean, so the government, in a way, it's right, it's good. I mean, when we talk about CWS and when we talk about inclusivity, yes, we need to include every child. But yes, when the government does it by force, so there are a lot of hiccups, and the true needy or the eligible people don't come. So when the school does it voluntarily, as you told, yes, the schools should be more proactive and take it up voluntarily, because we know in our local community the kind of support, whether it is whatever Abhiyan, you have read all the 5, 6, even I don't remember a couple of them, of course, the Swachh Bharat and all, since we have put it into more practice that we know. But yes, when the governments can always give the guidelines and leave it to the schools, and when the schools, at least in the private segment, but of course in the government sector, they need to get more hands-on support or force from the government. But yes, we will do. When the school leaders understand the need of whatever form of SDGs that they are very much particular about, they will do it voluntarily, and I would watch for that.
Lovely.
Because only those will definitely be more successful.
Lovely. Got that. In about 30 seconds, if all the senior panelists here were to give their thought on what they would like to do immediately in the next 2 months in their institutions, what would that be?
I wanted to include these sustainable climate change goals into our curriculum, and then what I said, the 4 implementations already have started, but I wanted to scale them up in depth so that more the community activities will take place, so that impacting the society is my objective.
Lovely. How about you, Seetha ma'am?
Yeah, I would continue to work on the sustainability in thinking and acting, more than talking big things like goals, 17 goals. By 2030, we have to achieve it one step at a time. I'd like to work on people thinking more sustainably in terms of plastic usage or paper usage and material usage. I would continue to work on it because it's not just for next 2 months. I've been working on it for many years.
Lovely. How about you, Raju sir?
Yeah, we have been working for long on this, and we have a full list of things we do every year. We take off a few things. So we are on our way this year. So next year as well we will do composting plant, a larger composting plant. We don't have a paper recycling system, which we want to do for sure. We want to increase our solar capacity. We have 100 kilowatts, but we want to maybe go to 150 kilowatts. We don't have a STP plant. We want to do that. So this year and next year, definitely we will do all of them.
Superb. And how about you, sir?
We banned plastic in the sense like we told students not to carry plastic water bottles. But then what happened? I mean, 4 months back, I mean, at the beginning of this academic year, and then everyone started bringing nice fancy steel bottles and all, and there are more injuries as well. So they're throwing and all. So, but then, yeah, after, as I told, after visiting the Singapore and last month to Australia, I mean, one thing that I just implemented last week is there are a lot of SDGs notice boards, I mean, all the billboards that we have set up, and we just started asking the children for them to tell that small practices, as just Seetha ma'am told very rightly. I mean, start small. So yeah, we can dream big, but when we tell the same to our students, it may not. So we need small, tangible result. So we told, okay, what is that one activity that you did at school or at home, which is sustainable, and how you think that you can continue, you can sustain that sustainability. We started asking the students in the assemblies, and they are coming up with very good ideas, some of them which we can actually implement. So that is what we started.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. Any questions from the audience before I do a conclusion on this, please? Any questions from the audience, please? Yeah, ma'am.
Not a question actually. I would like to add to one of the questions that you posed, which spoke about the role of parents. I am associated with this climate change project. It's a UN-based project for the last 7 years. And what I have realized in my 30-year experience as an educator is, if we empower children with global realities and the vulnerabilities that are there, they will bring in the change that we want to see in the society. And this has been exemplified, I would say, by the initiatives that the students who have participated in this project have taken up. It is a small step, but a very big impact in the society. There are children who have ensured that 15,000 families don't buy crackers. There is one initiative taken by one girl in a temple, in about 40 temples, so that the material doesn't go to the Yamuna, but it goes straight to the compost pit. Now it is happening in more than 4,000 temples. So these are small initiatives taken by children. After getting empowered, when we empower them, when we put them across the conversations across countries, what is it that we are facing? What kind of a future they will face if they don't take action today? And it is these children who will make the parents do what they want to. This is what I thought. I'll just add to what, and I completely agree with what Praveen Raju said.
Beautiful. So it is basically a joint effort of the teacher, the school, the management, the parent, and the government. So small baby steps have to be taken by each and every one of us in our own individual capacity to make this goal happen to our requirements. And of course, we have to progress in such a way that 2047, we have to make this country a global leader. So each and everyone has a responsibility to share. The panelists here have described many things doable which we can take back home as an immediate to-do action item for our schools and for our institutions. I hope all of us take some key takeaway points from today, and probably in the next government sizing event, if we can declare as a group as to what did we achieve in the last 1 year, certainly I think our role would have come to a success. Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you, panelists, for your time, and thank you, audience. Lovely, Praveen. Thank you very much.